This is the usage tour of the Travelog application. I'm going to walk through it and show you how it works. Now, please excuse the text and the visuals. This is being done on the desktop on my Mac, and it has a little bit of fuzziness to it because it's done with Xcode Simulator. So I'm going to go ahead and walk through it, and we'll get a chance to see how this application works. First of all, let's give you an overview of what the application does. It is a travel log for people that are planning travel to a location or many locations. And it could be local, it could be overseas, it can be anywhere, and it can be from any country or within a country. And the concept behind it is that you plan your travel. You plan all of the air travel, ground travel, and collect all your expense information. And then along the way, you have sites that you want to see or things that you may want to buy tickets for and go to. And then you can track all the expenses, flight, ground, all the things you see, and you can pre-plan everything. And to include a website lookup where you can go to the websites that are in the location where you're going and learn about the different things that are around that you can see while you're in that location. Then you can also put an image in here, and there's also other places for images. You have built-in maps. You have a calendar, so you can have a calendar schedule and put your events on there that you're going to be seeing. The calendar and the live maps require Wi-Fi, where there are copies of maps where you can copy them from say, for example, MapQuest or Google Maps, and then you can paste them into the Maps thing so you have live maps on your system when you're ready to look for them. Now, the websites will require, if you're out in the location in some rural area that you may want to have Wi-Fi or some other method like on a phone where you have 4G or 3G. There's an expense track, and one of the real nice features about this application, it is internationalized so that, for example, in this screen, every header and field in the application has a dashed line on it that indicates which one it is over on this side. And if you want to put this in a different language like your own language or just leave it in English, all you do is lock in and change any of those things that you want to change on the application as far as the names are concerned. And that's very simple to do. And you can put bold headers if you want to, or I think these are set up for bold, and then these are lowercase bold because that's what they're supposed to be on the actual application. Let's go back over to activity and we'll start walking through some of the things. Over on this side, this is a running scroll bar, and what happens is when you type anything in this area, what you're doing is you're titling a link, basically, that on each one of these, if you click on it, it's going to change whatever record you're viewing to that record. Now, when you go to a location and you have an activity, which is the activity name, each one of those records is about that activity. It might be something you're going to see while you're there, it might be a show, or it might be someplace where you're actually traveling and starting the travel, or a place that you're going to as a destination, and you're booking all that information in here that you want, plus flights and ground travel. So this is also, if I don't include fields in here somewhere that you need, you can go ahead and click in here and put a title of a thing here. There's many of them in here. This is for a long field. And this is the actual field data you can add in there. And these are fields that you can add your own information for each travel activity. So if I went to a new travel activity and clicked up on UDFs, user-defined fields, then those would be available to you to use. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the interface. When you are in a record and on the iPad or iPhone and you want to create a new record in here, you click on New to create a new record. Now, if you do not see a new button on the application on the screen, this screen, not down here at the bottom, which is the iPad menu, do not use those two little plus and minuses to create or delete records. That is not acceptable. Over here where it says App Map, this is an app map where it goes between the different screens that are available in the application and lets you hit one click to go to those different ones. We're in the login main screen. The Travelog list view is a list of all the records that you create over here, so you can actually go see one and click a button. It'll take you to that record. You can also navigate using this over here on this side. You have the air travel portal, which is actually the portal, which this is the air travel portal, but there's an individual record for each portal where if you click on the little arrow at the end, it'll take you to the individual records, and we'll explain why there's individual records and a listing where they scroll here in a minute. And then you have another portal for the map portal. You have a go-to URL listing, which is an interesting way to set up and put URLs in this application so you can go to different websites, and you don't have to go look them up because they'll be in your library for URLs. Then you have an expense track where you have a portal, which is not on this screen, but it's on the tab right there, where you can go ahead and go into that portal and create records. And then you actually have the expense report that summarizes all your expenses into a report format at the end of the time. Now, to add a photo to this, you just click on this thing or tap on it, and this is how it would look like if you were on the iPad. You go to Photos, and when you go to Photos, in this case, it says, can I access them? Yes, go ahead. And you can pick anything you want. Like I can go in and say, okay, that looks pretty. Let's put that in there. And there you have it. Now, if you go up here and click on this, you'll get a bigger view, nice crisp picture, very nice looking. And if you click anywhere off or at the top, just click anywhere, it goes away. You can also go to the expense report by clicking on this icon, or you can go to the developer support by clicking on anywhere in this area. It'll take you to the developer support site. If you need help and you need chat and you want to talk to me, you can go ahead and click there and it would take you there. Let's talk about the Do Action button. The Do Action button is interesting. It allows you to start what's called a find. Now, any fields that are standalone fields like these, not in a portal, can be used in a find. If you want to use the portal, you go to the individual records in that portal and then do a find from there. A find is a fast way to go right to what you're looking for based on any kind of data or any records that have duplicate data or phrases or words in a field that you click in would take you to those fields. Well, right now I've only gotten one record in this application, so you're not going to be able to see much. Let's go ahead and say what happens. If you click in this, it flips the screen. It shows a lookup like you're looking for it. You just type in anything you know and go ahead and put it in there, and you can click go or you can go up here in this and say perform the find. When you perform the find, it's going to go out and find it. Now watch, I didn't put anything in there, but I'm going to show you what happens when you don't have anything correct. It's going to pop up and it's going to say either modify the find to put the correct information in or cancel. So let's cancel. Now what that does, it flips back and now you're back in the application again. Up here at the top, if you have a lot of records in here and you did a find, you're going to reduce the number of records you have in the application, and you'll go to look for them and you can say, oh, they're lost. I lost them. Oh, my. Well, you didn't lose them. Just come back in here, click Show All, and what Show All does is it brings back all those records. Omit records. If you're in a list view and you want to look for certain things, say for like a city, and then you want to omit certain things you don't want in it, you can omit a record, or you can play this little game. You can go in and you say, then show only the omitted records, and the ones you omitted now will be the only ones that are going to show. It's kind of fun if you want to do that, and it helps sometimes actually when you need to do that. If you have multiple records and you want to go to the first, the next, the prior, or the last record, you click in these buttons. If you want to export from this application, you click on Export. And here's the name of the actual screen that you're in. So you're exporting from this table on this screen. If you go to a different screen, there'll be a different name up here that you can pick from. You have different ways to send stuff out. You can do comma separated, DBase, Excel, HTML, merge, or tab separated. Tab is probably one of the cleanest, and the other one's CSV if you want to, say, send things out to your other programs like word processing or something like that. It's might be pretty good. I think if you're going to do word processing, that would be a good idea to do tab separated. Or an Excel thing. If you want to do Excel where you're going to set up data like a spreadsheet for expenses or whatever, you can do that. Okay, let's go look at the next thing. You can do fields. You can select the fields specifically for the ones you want to be exported. And these are the field headers. So what you do is you just go ahead and click on whatever you want to send. Now you may want to go down a little bit, and I'll explain why. Those ones with the underline are actually identified as labels. And only the ones in here with the actual full names on them are fields. So you want to unselect all the label names and get rid of those and just work with the ones that have data for the names of them here. It's very important. Okay, we're done here. Next one is use a layout, and you can pick the layout that it's in the order that they're shown in the layout, or you can say, no, I'm going to do it myself. You can also email that file that you're exporting, or you can save it and save it to a file that you can use on a word processor if you wanted to. Okay, so let's go done here. And the next thing we're going to look at is the print. Print brings up a dialog. This is just like it'll do on the iPad. And basically what it has is a record range. And what is that? We can do the current record you're viewing, or the found set that you did in a find literally you're looking for records and you want just to send out certain records, you would do a find first to group them into what's called a group selection. And in that group selection, that's what you're going to be exporting or printing. If you want to just print the single records you're looking at, do that. If you want the whole thing, you would go ahead and click here. It'll give you a record range, the number of pages you want to make, the page range, the paper size, the orientation, and the scale. If you have a printer that does scaling, you can go ahead and set the scale. And you can also do a maximum or minimum dots per inch as far as the quality. And you can do this. This is fun. You can send a PDF. You can either view it when you send it, email it, or it goes an actual email, or just save it so that you can go get it later as far as whatever you're looking at. Now PDFs you can do of the screen that you're looking at, which is kind of nice. It'll send the entire screen. So you got to be aware though when you do that, it might just crop it down to say like a paper size, or it may do the whole screen depending on what the screen looks like that you're trying to capture. And you can also use capture programs like on the iPad. You do the round button in the power and you can click on that and it'll take a picture of whatever you're looking at on the screen. And say for example you're in the Maps application and you want to take a shot of the screen. That's a good way to create a map that you can put into the fixed maps. Let's go look at that. Clicking on the map up here at the top of the screen, and what it does is it brings down the maps. You can shoot a picture of this screen with a map on it depending on where you're at, and then take that map and put it into this little screen right here. And basically what you do here is you create a new record by each time you add a new thing in here, just anything, and it's going to allow you to create a new record. And then you would pop in an image. And how do you do that? You go over to the portal for that screen, and then you tap on this and paste whatever you brought in, or you can say replace it from whatever is in your screen images. So if you had maps or something from another way that you created them, you can always replace them by clicking replace, and whatever that is, it'll paste it in here. It'll actually paste images as well. So if you had images, you can put them in there. And if you want to view this as a larger image, you just click it, or that's the live image. In this case, it was kind of small. If it were larger, you would be able to see the larger image. You click on it once, say done, and it goes back. You can put the map ID goes in automatically. You can put the map name as far as what it is. This shows the size of it. It's a good idea to keep your maps and stuff like that under 400 kilobytes. The reason for that is you get a lot of memory in your iPad used up if you're putting a lot of pictures in. These allow you to go between the pictures that you currently have in them in your maps very quickly, so you can go see where you're at. This is actually maps that I put in from a trip we made to Paris, and it showed all the places where we were at. Plus it showed where we were going to stay. So we had a lot of stuff in there. And because you cannot assure that when you get to Paris that you're going to have any Wi-Fi to work with, this is a nice way to save maps and road maps or information or anything you have that will help you find your way around. If you wanted to delete a record, you click this, it deletes the record. If you want to go back to the main screen, you click here. And of course you can always use the map here to go back to the main screen, and that brings you back. Now let's talk about the next thing. UDFs are no more than what we showed you already, where you put in a title and a field name. This is for the calendar, where you have to have accounts for a calendar. In this case, it's Gmail or Google Mail. So you could create your account. If you already have one, you can log in and use the calendar. The maps we already showed you. The copied maps we showed you. Now, this is kind of fun. What the websites do is it allows you to create a list of your sites where you want to go. And you can list them here, and you can scroll up and down. There's a lot of them in there already, including our support site. And you can see that you got places like Picasa. If you have Picasa for photos or whatever, you can add all the ones you want to add. Well, how do you do that? Well, it's simple. You just click on this little arrow right here. It brings it over here. You put the URL name in there. If it has cookies that you have to know about, you put those in. And if you have access required, you can put the username and password if you need to in there. And if you need to delete them, you can delete them as we talked about before. And if you want to add a new URL, another one of these, you just click add a new URL, and then it adds it to the list that I just showed you in the other system. Now let's go ahead and click and go back, and then go back into, we did website maps and websites, and shows you how fast this works. This is really interesting. If I go up to Bing, it's almost faster than working on a regular computer like Chrome browser. It's extremely fast when you use it this way. So you have a chance to see what that looks like. And of course, you can do searches or anything you want to do as far as working your way around the world on websites. The next one is the expense track. We already showed you languages, so we're almost at the end of our tour. So up here, you have both air and ground travel. And this gives you the ability to add the air and ground travel and the expenses and cost and remarks. And then if you want to do meals and fuel and car rentals and all that kind of stuff, or things that you bought along the way, you can put all those in here. It'll summarize them in the sum of expenses. And then if you get all done and you want to see how it all looks, you can do a report and actually print it if you wanted to. And then when you're in a country, if you know what the country's item cost is going to be as far as the actual cost in the country, and then you put in the exchange rate, then you can get the actual cost transformation to whatever dollars are or whatever you're using for your exchange rate. So it would be the country's cost, the exchange rate, boom, you got the difference between the two. Very nice way of doing that as far as keeping up with your expenses and not overspending. Okay, so if you create a new record in here, it'll automatically add an index number. And the index number is also used in a search if you have to. And what that does is it gives you the ability to search for a specific record that is based on a number for that particular activity that you're in whatever city or wherever you're at. If you want to go to the individual log where you want to do a find, you click on this, but you have to have something in the line. And that's why I'm showing it to you. If you don't have anything, you can't find anything. So let's go down here and we'll do this in the actual air travel and go to that portal. This is a simple little thing that shows the field names, but what it does give you the ability to do is go over to Do Action and say Start a Find, and then find a specific record in the application, and that would give you the ability to go ahead and find that or a group of records. Now if I say Show All again, it'll pop back and give me all the records that are available in the application. So let's go back to the main screen. Okay, that's kind of a whirlwind tour. If you have any questions, this is a great time to know that you can go up here and hit support, or you can go to my website, which is in the websites, and you can chat online. You can send email to me, or you can actually go on Skype, and I have my Skype address on the website, and that'll give you a way to actually go on the screen if you need help, and I can show you how whatever you need to know works. If you have any more questions, just contact us through the website. Thank you.